CEO's heartwarming panic over missing translator reveals amazing hidden gift from unexpected Maid. Ethan Marks paced the sleek lines of the Chicago office, the hum of the bustling city below doing nothing to ease the tightness in his chest. Just hours before the launch of his game-changing tech initiative, a tool to tear down cultural barriers, his translator had vanished. Panic washed over him like sweat on a summer's day. What if he failed? The weight of his immigrant parents' dreams rested on his shoulders. Their sacrifices were not just whispers in the wind. They were the roots anchoring him to resilience. How could he let them down now? He glanced at the clock. It's ticking like a countdown to catastrophe. He couldn't let this monumental moment slip away. He dove into his phone, frantically scrolling for a fix, his fingers fumbling between despair and desperation. As minutes dripped away, a shadow caught his attention. It was Maria, the quiet maid who seemed to glide through the corporate world unnoticed. He barely knew her name, but suddenly remembered her warm smile, always brightening his stressful days. With no other options left, he approached her. "Do you speak any languages?" he blurted, hardly able to mask his urgency. "Just a bit of Spanish," she said, her eyes wide with surprise. A hidden spark of hope ignited within Ethan. They needed her more than he initially realized. He barely glanced at the woman who spent her days cleaning while he commanded boardrooms. But in this moment, she was more than just a maid. She was a lifeline that as they worked side by side. Ethan was struck by the depth of Maria's insights. Her anecdotes about cultural nuances came alive like vivid paintings against a dull backdrop. They shared laughter and worries. Maria had a way of connecting with stories that stirred his very soul. At that moment, the air around Ethan changed. Unseen barriers began crumbling. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A surge of adrenaline flushed through his veins as they entered the conference room. On paper, they were mismatched, an imposing CEO and a soft-spoken maid, but together they formed an unexpected team. Maria opened her mouth, her voice trembling slightly, and every seemingly mundane detail she shared wrapped itself around the clients like a warm embrace. Each tale painted cultural connections, transforming the sterile room into a vibrant tapestry of shared human experience. As the meeting wrapped up and feedback poured in, Ethan's heart swelled and sank simultaneously. The struggle of Maria's life flashed through his mind. Had he unintentionally overlooked countless stories like hers? An emotional weight pressed upon him, reminding him that success often carries the sacrifices of unrecognized heroes. Walking out of the conference room, the chatter around him faded into the background. He was lost in thought. Could he honor Maria and others like her? The American dream had never felt so complex or profound. The crossroads loomed ahead, a decision to make, a chance to redefine what success truly meant. But as each passionate whisper from his clients echoed in his ears, he knew this was only the beginning. What would tomorrow bring? Ethan stepped into the blinding sunlight of Chicago, the weight of the conference still heavy on his shoulders. The warmth hit him like a wave, breaking him from his thoughts. He couldn't shake the feeling that today had changed him in a way he didn't quite understand yet. Maria's voice echoed in his mind, the warmth, the connection. She had turned what could have been a disaster into something beautiful. But now what? As he walked, the city buzzed around him, people rushing to meetings, cars honking, life pulsing at every corner. Ethan turned onto a quieter street, trying to gather his thoughts. He needed to honor what he had learned both from his parents and from Maria. It wasn't just about pushing his company forward. It was about elevating the voices of those who had been silenced. "Hey, Ethan." A familiar voice broke through his reverie. It was Clara, his right-hand woman. Her ponytail swung as she jogged up to him, her expression a mix of enthusiasm and concern. "You made waves in that meeting. The clients loved the cultural insights Maria provided. They've never seen anything like it." "Yeah, it was great," he replied, his mind drifting back to Maria. "What do you think we should do next?" Clara paused, tilting her head. I think we should showcase more diverse voices. Imagine how many people would resonate with that approach. Ethan felt a spark ignite within him. What if we create a program? Feature stories from the people who make our company what it is. The unsung heroes. Clara's eyes widened, and she nodded vigorously. That's brilliant. We can launch a campaign around that message. It would truly embody what we represent. The idea blazed through him, and they spent the walk to the office brainstorming how it could unfold. As they entered the building, Ethan caught a glimpse of Maria pushing a cart down the hall. His heart raced. She had been pivotal, her perspective a gateway to a broader understanding. He approached her, a mix of gratitude and nervousness bubbling to the surface. "Maria," he called, and she turned, surprise lighting up her face. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Of course, Mr. Marks." Her eyes held a hint of curiosity. Ethan's mind raced. How could he tell her what she meant to him, to the company? "I wanted to thank you again for your help today. You didn't just save the meeting. You helped me understand the heart of what my parents dreamt for me, and I want to do something with that." "What do you mean?" she asked softly, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "What if we could share stories yours and others like you through our platform? To lift voices, celebrate backgrounds, and break down barriers? It's time the world sees beyond the titles and positions." Maria blinked, surprise morphing into hope. "You really think that is possible?" "Absolutely," he said with conviction. "We could start with you. Your journey matters. It's all part of this bigger picture." She hesitated, then a shy smile broke through. "That could be amazing." Ethan's pulse quickened. This wasn't just a campaign. It was a chance to make real change, to turn the spotlight onto people whose stories needed telling. But then doubt crept back in, whispering questions he hadn't fully faced yet. Could he promise this to her? Would the company support such a heartfelt initiative? He felt the enormity of it all pressed down. "Let us meet tomorrow. We can figure this out," he offered, feeling a sense of urgency. As he walked away, excitement and fear intertwined within him. He was at the edge of something profound, yet the uncertainty lingered. What if this path uncovered more than just stories? What hidden treasures could emerge? The office buzzed around him, yet all he could think about were the possibilities. Would tomorrow truly bring the transformation they all needed? Ethan barely slept that night. He tossed and turned, the day's lingering emotions swirling in his mind. Warm sunlight peeked through his curtains as he finally closed his eyes. His dreams were colored with images of Maria, her laughter, her stories, the spark in her eyes when she spoke of her journey. The morning came too soon, but he rose with a resolve. Today was about action. He dressed, each button fastening a promise to bring forth a change and support Maria in the way she deserved. He grabbed a quick breakfast, but his stomach churned with both excitement and nerves. At the office, Clara was already at her desk, poring over options for the new campaign. Her eyes lit up as he approached. "You're here. I've been thinking, what if we highlight not just their stories, but also the struggles they overcome? We could weave in documentary-style elements." "That could work," Ethan said, feeling the ideas behind the campaign solidify. "But let us look for authenticity. Real stories, raw emotions. I want everyone involved to feel they're truly heard." "Absolutely. I'll start working on a pitch for management," Clara replied, her enthusiasm infectious. Ethan opened his laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. But his thoughts kept returning to Maria. Would she agree to be the first feature? He sighed heavily, the pressure of his dreams weighing on him. At midday, with the sun high in the sky, he found himself standing in front of Maria's office. Heart racing, he knocked lightly before entering, the nerves rolling inside him like a turbulent sea. "Hey, Maria," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Have you thought more about our meeting? I want to finalize the details." "Good afternoon, Ethan," she replied, glancing up from her paperwork. "I've been thinking it feels daunting to share my story. What if people don't connect? What if they don't care?" "Everyone cares," Ethan said earnestly. "Your story matters. You're not just a translator. You bring life and context. We need to show that to people who might be just like you, who think they're silenced. You could empower so many. Together we can turn this into something incredible, something that not only affects the company, but also the community." Her uncertainty flickered like a candle in the wind, but his words held her captive, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. After a long pause, she replied, "What would you want to share? What do I even say?" Ethan leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. Let us start with your truth. The day you came here, what did you hope for? What do you want others to understand? Her eyes softened, a glimmer of vulnerability peeking through. Just then, a commotion outside the office interrupted their moment. The office manager hurried past, fumbling with a stack of papers. Where's that translator? He shouted, looking frantic. We have clients waiting, and we need someone to assist with communication. Maria's brow furrowed, her expression shifting to one of concern. I can help, she said before Ethan could respond, rising from her seat. Wait, Maria? Ethan grabbed her arm gently. Let us not rush into this. We need to curate your story first. But she was already out the door, urgency propelling her forward. A part of Ethan wanted to run after her, to ensure this didn't undermine their plans. Yet, he found himself frozen, his thoughts racing. Why was he so afraid? After some minutes, Maria returned, a mix of seriousness and laughter in her eyes. You know, that was kind of thrilling, she said, her face glowing. Thrilling? You seriously think navigating those clients is enjoyable? He asked, taken aback. She grinned. You'd be surprised. Communication is powerful. It's a dance. You have to navigate the steps just right. Ethan couldn't help but smile. Maybe there was more to this journey than he realized. But just then, a thought struck him as an idea began to blossom. What if they recorded their conversations, capturing her spirit? Something told him today would be a turning point, a lesson on stepping into the light. As he began to speak, excitement bubbled up within him. Maria, what if we recorded how this all unfolds? Your reactions, your thoughts, your journey. Her eyes sparked with intrigue, and he felt the beat of his heart quicken. You want to film this? Definitely. But I want to do it right. He replied emphatically. She pondered for a moment, a smile creeping back on her face. What is the worst that could happen? Ethan's throat tightened, the challenge making his pulse race with hope. Exactly. As they began to brainstorm further, a thought lingered. What if managed this poorly? What if the very act of sharing could expose them to vulnerability they weren't prepared for? Maybe this journey would be harder than he thought. But with her at his side, could they truly achieve something transformational? One thing was certain. Today was just the beginning. As they delved into their plans, a new question began to form in Ethan's mind. What unforeseen challenges lay in wait, just around the corner? Would they be ready for the truth and the vulnerability of the path ahead? Ethan sat back in his chair, feeling the weight of anticipation in the air. Maria's expression was a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were on the brink of something grand, yet the fear of failure loomed like a shadow. How could they take that first step without faltering? Okay, Maria finally said, breaking the silence. Let us do it. Let us record my story and figure this out as we go. His heart swelled at her willingness. Great. I have a camera in my bag. Let us start with your journey to this country. The arrival. What was it like for you? Maria shifted in her chair, her hands fidgeting slightly. It's a lot to unpack. I remember the plane landing. I could hardly breathe. It felt like stepping into a dream, but it was so overwhelming. I want to hear it all, he said genuinely. The excitement and the fears. With a deep breath, she nodded. I was terrified. Everything was new language, new culture. I didn't know if I would fit in. As she spoke, Ethan turned on the camera, capturing the rawness of her emotions. Her voice was steady yet fragile, revealing the layers of her experiences. Each word held a piece of her heart, and he felt honored to be the one she trusted with them. What did you hope for when you arrived? He prompted gently. Maria paused, her eyes glossing over. I hoped for a chance, for a better life. To not just survive, but really live. But I also worried I'd be invisible, like most translators are. The words hit Ethan hard. He knew how sidelined people could become, voices drowned out by the noise of the world around them. No way you're invisible now, he murmured, struck by the significance of her journey. She smiled lightly, though her eyes were a little sad. That's why sharing my story is so important, to show others that we all have a voice, that we can be heard. As the session unfolded, Maria revealed her hardships, the laughter interspersed with tears, moments where hope ebbed and flowed. Each story brought them closer, building a connection that lit the room like the sun pouring through the windows. Hours melted away, and soon they both sat back, breathless. A sense of accomplishment wrapped around them like a warm hug. That was incredible, Maria, Ethan said, suddenly filled with pride for her bravery. Thank you for believing in me, she replied, her gaze holding his for a moment too long. There was a moment when the air felt charged, a spark that transcended their professional bond. But then the sudden clatter of heels echoed towards them. Clara burst in, her face flushed. Ethan, I just heard. Her voice trailed off as she took in the scene before her. The camera, the emotions, the connection. What is it? Ethan asked, feeling the energy shift. Management wants to see us immediately. They got wind of this campaign, and there are concerns about the timing, Clara said hurriedly, her tone serious. What are you saying? Maria asked, confusion swirling in her eyes. They're worried we might be moving too fast without full approval, Clara explained, her brow furrowed. Ethan felt his stomach drop. So much was riding on this. But they need to hear what Maria has to say. Her story. Clara shook her head. It's not about that. It's about scheduling, about what they consider safe direction. They want what feels comfortable, not what pushes boundaries. Frustration flared in Ethan. But her story matters. We can't just toss it aside. He could see the doubt creeping back into Maria's expression, the fear of not being accepted washing over her like cold water. Maria, you are more powerful than any numbers or approvals on paper. This matters, your story matters, he added, determination lacing his voice. The truth is not always comfortable, Clara interjected, biting her lip. We need a backup plan. The silence felt heavy as Maria's eyes darted between them. Are we really ready for this? She whispered. Ethan's pulse raced with urgency. They were on the edge of something monumental, and now everything hung in the balance. They had to make a choice. Let us not let fear govern what we do next, he said boldly. We're doing this. Together, right? As they deliberated their next steps, a realization hit Ethan. They were not alone in this. They had each other, and that could lead them to something they never thought possible. But as the clock ticked down and uncertainty loomed around them, he wondered, would they have the courage to face the unexpected twists ahead? What might they discover about themselves in the process? Ethan could feel the tension in the room as Clara's urgency hung thick in the air. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating the excitement that had just filled them. Maria's eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and fear, and he could sense that she was teetering on the edge of doubt. Maria, he said softly, reaching across the table to take her hands in his. They were warm, albeit trembling slightly. This is about more than just a campaign. Your story has power. It can change lives, maybe even your own. But what if it backfires? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. What if they see me as just another story, as someone to exploit? Ethan felt that familiar knot in his stomach twist tighter. Clara's voice snapped him back. Listen, we don't have time to dwell on what-ifs. We need to show management why this matters. Why you matter. Clara was right. But that didn't ease Ethan's anxiety. He could envision the boardroom's serious faces, tight suits, cold coffee. They wouldn't get it. How could they? Clara, can't we present the footage we have so far? He suggested. Show them the raw, real emotion. It speaks for itself. Clara hesitated, knowing the risk. I'll talk to them, but I can't promise they'll listen. Let us give it a shot, Maria interjected, suddenly elated. If they see my story, they might understand. Ethan smiled at her bravery, the light in her eyes reigniting something deep within him. That's the spirit. You've got something special, Maria. We just need to make sure it shines. They gathered the equipment and headed for the conference room, the harsh fluorescent lights flickering above. The atmosphere was suffocatingly formal, filled with executives who would likely see Maria as just a statistic, another cog in the machine. To combat that, Ethan resolved to frame her not as a number, but as someone real, with emotions and aspirations. As they stepped inside, Clara walked in first, taking the lead. Ethan and Maria followed closely behind, nerves dancing through the room like static electricity. The executives waited expectantly, papers rustling as they glanced between each other. Everyone, Clara began, her voice steady despite the tension. We're here to present something important. I hope you'll give us your full attention. She gestured to Ethan, who clicked play on the camera. Images flickered to life, revealing Maria's truth, her struggles, her dreams, and her undeniable courage. Ethan watched the faces in the room shift from skepticism to curiosity. As the video played on, Maria's voice filled the silence, her words weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience. With each passing moment, her authenticity radiated, illuminating the dark corners where fear lingered. When the footage finished, a profound silence enveloped the room, broken only by the soft hum of the projector. Slowly, heads turned. Ethan took a deep breath. That's Maria's truth. We can't turn away from it. In a world filled with noise, her voice deserves to be heard. As he glanced at Maria beside him, he saw her confidence start to bloom, but it was fleeting. A senior executive finally cleared his throat. This is moving, but there are grounded concerns about how this fits within our marketing strategy. Ethan felt a wave of frustration wash over him. Isn't the point to push boundaries? To challenge perceptions? Just then, Clara intervened. If we act now, if we let Maria's story lead us into new territories, we could gain more than just viewers. We could inspire change. The tension in the room thickened again as they debated, but Ethan could see resilient sparks in Maria's eyes that gave him hope. They continued through the back and forth, and something in Ethan cracked open a stubborn resolve. This is more than just a campaign. It's a human experience. Let us not forget that. As they navigated this storm, Ethan wondered, would they convince the board? Would this journey unlock more than a campaign? Would it inspire a community, an avalanche of stories waiting to be told? Just then, as the executives murmured, one of them caught Ethan's eye, her expression. Contemplative. But what if we just let Maria tell us what she needs? Ethan's heart raced. It was the opening they needed. Would they actually give her a chance to be heard? As he held his breath, he realized that the real challenge wasn't just the campaign, it was navigating the labyrinth of fear, hope, and unexpected alliances they would build along the way. And with every emerging possibility, he couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to shift. What might their newfound courage reveal next? The murmurs in the boardroom shifted as the executive who had just spoken glanced between Clara and Maria, her brow slightly furrowed. Can we really do that? Letting her speak directly. Yes, Clara said emphatically, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. Maria deserves that chance. She shouldn't just be a story told about her. She should be the one telling it. Ethan felt a rush of hope. This was it. This was their moment. But Maria shifted uncomfortably, glancing down at the table. But what if I'm not enough? What if my story isn't powerful enough? Ethan leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Maria, you've already shown so much strength. Just tell them what you've shared with us. Your truth is your power. You can do this. With a deep breath, Maria nodded, rising from her chair slightly. It was a small gesture, but it radiated strength. All right, Clara said, clasping her hands together. Maria, let us take a moment. What do you want them to know? The tension rippled through the room once more, thickening the air. Maria looked around at all the serious faces, and Ethan could see her biting her lip, gathering the courage just beneath the surface. Then, Maria spoke. I've lived through challenges that made me question if I was ever going to make it. My family, my parents worked hard to give us a better life, but there were times when I felt lost, alone. Ethan watched as she grew more animated, her voice rising with emotion. But I've also discovered hope in community and resilience. I want everyone to see that it's possible to create change, even from a difficult place. The eyes in the room softened, interest blossoming in the air like flowers unfolding at the first light of spring. Clara's expression glowed with pride as she nodded encouragingly. Exactly, Maria, Clara said. That's the essence we need. Show them the heart behind the numbers. You can inspire more than just a marketing strategy. You can inspire lives. She looked around the room, gauging reactions. This is about authenticity, people. Let Maria's experience reshape how we tell our story. Ethan felt a swell of admiration rush through him as he watched Maria find her voice. He knew then that this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about all of them, and what they were willing to stand up for. But just as clarity seemed to dawn, another executive cut in, their brow still furrowed with skepticism. What is the risk here? If we allow this, how do we manage the fallout if it doesn't resonate? Isn't it worth the risk? Ethan replied, stepping forward, heart hammering against his ribs. Change comes when we dare to be vulnerable. To connect. Maria's story isn't risky, it's revolutionary. Clara nodded vigorously in agreement. With her voice, we have the chance to connect emotionally. And that's what people remember, what moves them. All eyes turned to Maria, the pressure thickening once more. She took a deep breath, courage channeling through her. I want to share not just my story, but those of everyone who felt like they weren't enough. We can inspire others to speak up. A ripple of murmurs flitted through the executives, some sharing hopeful glances while others held firm to their skepticism. Ethan could feel the tension rise and fall like the tide. But one thing was clear: there was no going back now. In that moment, the decision loomed heavily in the air. Would they seize this opportunity to break free from the corporate norm, or cling to the safety of what they knew? As Maria stood poised to speak again, a piercing silence filled the room, heavy with anticipation. The outcome was uncertain, but the resolve was palpable. Ethan felt a surge of emotion, a glimmer of hope mixed with that familiar knot of fear. But change was born from moments like this. He could only hope. What words would seal their fate? Would they embrace this leap of faith or retreat into the comfort of silence? Maria's eyes scanned the room, landing on each face, desperately pushing past the nerves. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. She knew this moment was pivotal, but the pressure was immense. The executive who questioned the risk looked skeptical still, arms crossed tightly over his chest, while others shifted in their seats, anticipation etched into their expressions. I know it's scary, Maria began again, her voice steadier this time. But not speaking up is scarier. I've spent too much time hiding, worried about what people think of me. Ethan felt a rush of gratitude. Maria wasn't just speaking. She was unearthing buried truths. The way her light began to shine brighter as she spoke ignited something in him. The faces around the room began to soften, their rigidness wavering. Curiosity sparked like electricity in the air. I want to talk about my journey, but also about the journeys of others who feel voiceless, she continued, her tone warm and inviting. We all have stories worth sharing, stories that can heal. Clara beamed at her. You're doing amazing, Maria. Just keep going. The assurance was palpable. Ethan could see that flicker of hope pushing through the doubt in Maria's eyes. Every day, I dodge questions about my background, who my family is, where I came from, Maria said, her voice a crescendo of emotion. But the truth is, I'm proud of my roots. My parents didn't just come here to work hard. They came to build a dream. A murmur of understanding spread through the boardroom. For the first time, Maria felt like she was commanding their attention, pulling them into her world, a world stitched together with resilience and spirit. I've faced rejection and prejudice, she admitted, taking a step forward, but I've also found love and support in the most unexpected places. It's that community that lifted me. Her words hung in the air, lightened by the warmth of vulnerability. Ethan could see eyes glistening, hearts opening. And that's what we have to offer, isn't it? Maria let the question land. A connection that moves beyond numbers and metrics. When we share our stories, we forge relationships. That's what resonates with people. One of the executives leaned forward, intrigued. You really believe we can change how people see us? I know we can. Maria nodded firmly, determination surging through her veins. We can redefine success, turning it into something meaningful where our impact is felt in the lives we touch. The atmosphere in the room shifted, tension loosening like a tightening grip on a rope. People exchanged glances, some nodding slowly, while the skeptical executive blinked, his defenses crumbling before her tenacity. Then Clara chimed in again. If we allow Maria to share her story, every customer, every client can connect with something real. Isn't that worth the risk? A ripple of agreement rolled through the group, and Ethan's heart soared. This wasn't just about a meeting anymore. It was about a movement beginning to take shape. But as if the universe sought to test their resolve, the door swung open, and someone barged in, a young woman in a housekeeping uniform, flustered and breathless. Excuse me, I'm so sorry I'm late. I was told there's a translation team missing, and wait, what? Maria and Ethan both turned. Their heartbeats quickened. This unexpected interruption hung heavy in the air, a whirlpool of confusion and excitement. The room buzzed with questions. Who was she? What could she offer? With all eyes now on the young woman in the doorway, Maria's heart raced. Suddenly, everything felt uncertain again. Would this be a setback or an opportunity? As the young woman regained her breath, a spark flickered in her gaze. I promise you I can help. In that moment, Maria realized maybe they weren't alone in this journey after all. What could this new arrival mean for their story? The young woman stood in the doorway, her eyes bright with determination. The tension in the room thickened, her presence almost electric. Maria felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Who was this unexpected visitor? "I'm Tanya," the woman said, finally catching her breath. "I was cleaning another room when I overheard. I can help with translations." There was a confidence in her voice that resonated with Maria. "Translation?" The skeptical executive raised an eyebrow, still leaning back in his chair, skeptical of the interruption. "What do you know about our mission?" Tanya held her ground. "I've grown up in this community. I speak Spanish and English fluently. I've heard stories just like Maria's." She turned to Maria, a soft smile spreading across her face. "You're right to speak up. Your story needs to be heard." A mixture of admiration and disbelief swept through the boardroom. Maria looked at Tanya with widening eyes. "You've heard my story? How?" "I've witnessed so much. People struggling to connect, families torn apart because they didn't have anyone to tell their stories to. But it's not just about individual stories. It's about how we all fit together." The ambience began to shift. No longer was it just a meeting driven by business. It was becoming personal. This young woman, a maid, was unraveling the very fabric of concerns that had held the room captive. Ethan felt a swell of hope overcoming him. What if Tanya was the key to deepening their message? "What do you think, Maria?" he asked softly. Looking back at her, Maria's heart raced. She sensed the winds of change. I think she's right. We can use her voice to echo ours, to amplify our stories." Tanya stepped forward, her voice steady. "Let us connect with the community. Let us create a bridge to those who feel like they don't belong. I know real people who are waiting to be heard." The initial skepticism in the air began to dissolve. Clara leaned forward, her eyes shining. "This could be incredible. We can set up community workshops where everyone can share their truths, guided by translations." The wall of the executive, still crossed, seemed to lower slightly. "You really believe this could work?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his voice. Maria looked around. The crowd was shifting. Hopeful faces were turning toward her and Tanya with encouragement. "Yes," she said, her voice strong. "By embracing our differences and sharing our stories, we'll not only connect hearts, but we'll elevate our company to something more meaningful." An undercurrent of optimism floated through the boardroom. Suddenly, it felt less like an interrogation and more like a gathering of minds that could change the course of both lives and business. But just as Maria began to feel the warmth of support building, a loud commotion echoed from the lobby, shattering the moment. The door slammed open again, and a group of people surged in, their expressions a mix of urgency and confusion. "They're here," one man shouted. "We need to talk to the CEO about the project now." The room tensed as the waves of commotion washed over them. The energy shifted once more. What did these newcomers want? And more importantly, how would this impact their moment of transformation? Tension crackled in the air as the group rushed into the room. Maria could feel her heart thumping wildly in her chest. Everyone in the boardroom turned to face the intruders, their eyes wide with questions. The newcomer, a tall man in a wrinkled suit, pushed forward. "We have a situation. The community meeting is scheduled for this evening, but our translator fell through. Without her, we can't proceed." His voice was charged with urgency. Tanya, still standing beside Maria, perked up instantly. "Wait," she said, stepping forward. "I can translate. I'm fluent in both languages, and I know this community. You won't find anyone better suited for this." Her confidence radiated, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Silence wrapped around the room for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. Everyone was grappling with the sudden dilemma. The man in the wrinkled suit glanced between Tanya and the rest of his colleagues, clearly unsure. "Are you sure? We don't have a lot of time, and this meeting is crucial for the project's success," he answered, frustration creeping into his tone. Ethan stepped in. "I think we should go with Tanya. She understands the heart of this community, and if she's willing, we should let her help." He looked around the table, gauging responses. Some nodded, while others still seemed skeptical. Maria knew they needed this meeting to succeed. She looked at Tanya, feeling a strange bond forming between them. "You can do this," she whispered, her voice steadying her own nerves. "They need you." Tanya met her gaze, and Maria could see the flicker of determination ignite again. "I'll do it," she asserted, her voice unwavering now. I'll make sure our stories are communicated the way they should be. All right, then, the tall man said, relief washing over him. Let us make it happen. He quickly shuffled everyone into action, giving orders that flew around the room like an urgent wind. Maria felt a swell of pride. This was the moment. Tanya was stepping into her power, ready to wield her words as a bridge between lives and cultures. She could see the possibility of real change unfolding right before her. But as the team began to sort the logistics, Maria's phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up, glancing at the screen. Her heart dropped. It was a message from her brother, and the text was clear. You need to come home. There's something you don't know. A chill ran down her spine. Home was a place steeped in memories, both beautiful and painful. What could possibly wait for her there that could change everything? Maria? Ethan called, looking over his shoulder. Are you okay? The boardroom started to hum with renewed energy, but all she could feel was the weight of that message. The shift in her world was about to ignite a different kind of urgency, one that she wasn't sure she was ready for. Yes, she replied, swallowing hard, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. I need to think. With everyone focused on Tanya, Maria took a step back, her mind racing. What could her brother mean? What awaited her at home could define not just her future, but the destinies of those around her. Yes, she turned her thoughts inward. The buzzing excitement of the meeting faded into a background noise. The fear pooling in her stomach grew heavier. Would she be ready for whatever news awaited her? And as her eyes drifted back to Tanya, a thought emerged. Was she ready to uncover truths about herself she had buried deep? In that moment of hesitation, the door swung open once more, and another figure stepped in, casting a shadow that made an unexpected chill ripple through the room. Maria's heart raced again. Who was this new arrival, and what would they bring to the unfolding story? As the newcomer stepped into the boardroom, the air thickened with intrigue and a sense of impending revelation. The tall figure held a confident stance. Maria's heart raced when she recognized him as Victor, her brother. Maria? He exclaimed, eyes shining with urgency and concern. I couldn't wait any longer. It's about Mom. Gasps echoed around the room as Maria's world crumbled at the weight of those words. The joy and energy they had built around Tanya's initiative began to fade, and all eyes turned toward her, sensing the storm brewing inside. What do you mean? She asked, desperately trying to keep her voice steady. She got really sick, Maria. I thought you should hear it from me first. Victor's face was drawn and serious, and for the first time in years, Maria saw vulnerability in his eyes. Tears threatened to spill as the weight of family ties pulled her hard in every direction. The room was silent, the buzz of conversations draping over them like a cover. Ethan stepped forward, noticing her distress, ready to offer support. Maria, you don't have to do this right now if you're not ready, he said softly, concern etched into his features, but Maria stood firm. No, I need to hear this, she said, trembling yet resolute. This is my family. Victor nodded, stepping closer as everyone else gently receded to allow a moment for siblings united in an emotional battle. I didn't want to distract you, but you need to know how serious it is. Mama's always pushed through, you know? But this time I'm scared she won't be able to fight anymore. With every word, Maria felt herself being pulled back to the roots she had tried to balance as she climbed the corporate ladder. Her parents had sacrificed everything for her dream, yet here she was, nourishing aspirations while her family struggled. The conflict surged within her. Could she walk away from this moment where her true strength could shine for them all? Maria, what do you want to do? Ethan asked quietly. She could see the weight of his sincerity, the way he held space for her to figure out what came next. I want to be there for her, Maria said, her voice thick with emotion, yet clarity cutting through. I want to let my mom down. She needs me. As she turned to look at Tanya, she felt a surge of inspiration. But what about this project? We've just begun to open doors. Tanya stepped forward, determination illuminating her eyes. Let us do this together. We can keep this going while you're with your family. Your story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. Ethan reached out, squeezing her shoulder gently. We'll keep pushing forward. Your story still matters, and we'll ensure that your voice continues echoing in ways you could never foresee. Maria's heart swelled. Even amid the whirlwind of emotions, The support from her colleagues felt like an anchor. Let us keep this initiative alive. But we have to make changes. This is about collaboration, real voices everywhere. We want to empower more people like Tanya. If I'm not there, let us reach farther, connect with their stories. With determination rekindled, Maria turned to the room, meeting the eyes of each executive. I may need to step away for a bit, but I believe this vision can thrive without me. It's time we empower a community of voices who feel unheard, while also being there for one another in times when they need it the most. Victor's eyes gleamed with pride at her resolve, and the skeptics in the room began to soften. Clara's smile widened. That's it, Maria. Let us build this together. We'll create a team to keep this alive and reach out to those who've been silenced. Together, we can share stories that carry the weight of the unsaid, Tanya added. Her confidence was contagious, sparking a new energy among everyone present. As the conversations murmured back into life, plans began to form, excitement and passion dancing in every voice. The spirit of collaboration surged through the room, pulling them closer together as they began to establish networks outside those conference walls. The roots of influence starting to deepen. Maria took a step back, her heart still heavy, but now also filled with hope, realizing that her family and community were parallel journeys. It's not just about one story rising to the top, it's about the powerful community we build together. In that moment, she found clarity not only about her obligation to her family, but also about her duty to those who needed their voices raised. Would she be ready for the journey of bridging both worlds? As she looked around, embracing each determined face in the room, she felt a renewed sense of purpose not just for herself, but for everyone she encountered. No matter what the road ahead held, she wouldn't walk it alone. Today was just the beginning, a chapter rich with promise, perseverance, and the power of stories yet to tell. They had all transformed in the face of fear, and Maria realized then, each moment was an opportunity to unite, uplift, and illuminate the world, reminding everyone that change is fueled by connection, love, and vulnerability. The meeting continued, filled with new enthusiasm, and amidst it all, something deep within Maria stirred a desire to embrace both her past and future. Would they strengthen through stories to bridge divides and inspire change? One thing was certain. Together, they were unstoppable. Now it's your turn to join the movement. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with inspiration and connection. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach even more beautiful souls. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Don't wait not even 1 second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation of love, resilience, and empowerment. This is the moment to show your support.